Hey everyone, welcome to this video. So let me open up a VI real quick, and what I really want to do, I want to teach you how to create a very simple Python Flask app. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we're going to run the Python Flask app in local environment. Now this one I'm using a Kali machine, so it will be a Kali machine for me. If you're using Windows, it can be Windows, doesn't matter. Then what we'll do, we are going to learn how to containerize the Python Flask app. So we're going to use a very basic app. We're going to containerize. And really, these days, since Docker is the most dominant technology, we're going to use the Docker. And we're going to create a Docker file for that, and we're going to go from there. Okay, that's kind of the 4 different steps that we're going to follow. So with that in mind, let's first create a directory. So mkdir. So let's say Python Flask and Docker. Okay, let's go to Python, then Flask Docker directory, do a ls, do a clear. So right now there is nothing there. So what I want to do inside this folder, let's just open a code or Visual Studio Code, hit enter. That should get me a Visual Studio Code and give me this Python Flask Docker file, right? Now what I want to do, I'm just gonna go to Google and say Python Flask sample app, okay, or getting started, something like that. So usually quick start. Quick start should be good enough. So if I click on the quick start, this is the the window that I get. What I'll do, I'll create a new file. I'm gonna call this new file as hello.py. And what happened? Did it happen? Okay, so let's just create one more time, hello.py, and there we go, the file. So what I'll add, I'm gonna add this link from where I'm getting this quick start tutorial, and then I'm just gonna get the code that we have from here. Okay, and there we go. I have a very simple Python app that we should be able to run. So since I'm using the Visual Studio Code, I'm gonna go down to terminal, get to the new terminal, and that would look like that. And first of all, I'm gonna see if I have Python 3 installed. So if I run Python 3, yes, I'm there. So let's just exit out. Um, and okay, clear. So the next thing that I need to do, I need to figure out how do you run this application. Now by default, when you have a Flask application, Flask runs the app, and with default port is 5000. Okay, now how do you run an application? So let's just go there and let's look at the documentation. So there is one way to run the Flask app hello. So that's the hello.py you have written, and then you can hit run. The other way to run is just run the python/m and then flask, that command. So I'm gonna try both maybe. So let's see, hit paste. You're saying Python M, so for in my environment I have to use Python 3. And what I'll do, I'll run and I'll just say, okay, host is 0000. So it picks up the local host. Let's see if it is able to run or not. And it said, hey, your environment is production. Warning, this is a development server. So Flask comes with a very simple development server that it uses. So what it's telling us, hey, error, could not locate a Flask application. You did not provide the Flask app environment. So what do we really need? we need to set an environment. So what we really need, we need something like export, and then we need this guy, right? Copy, we need this guy, and we need to say this guy Flask app. When we call the Flask, just run the hello.py file that we have written. And since it's also complaining about development versus production environment production, so that is the default. So let's change our environment. So let's do an export, then Flask, um, then env for environment. We're gonna set it to development. Okay, that is what we need to do. So I'm gonna copy this and just run it here, and that environment should be set. Let's copy this and copy and run this. Okay, so what I'm really doing, I'm preparing my Kali machine to run this application. So it's still not there anywhere close to a container, right? So we are running this application from our Kali machine. Last thing I want to double check, do I have the Flask installed? So that to verify, I'm going to run pip3 install Flask user. Let's copy that one as well and just put it here. Okay, and then I'm going to run this, and looks like I already have it. If you didn't have it, you may get a different command or different output, but I do have it, so that's all good. At this time, I can probably rerun this python-m flask run this command and hit enter. And if you look at it, it has started running that application. Okay, and here is the URL. So if I click on that one, it goes to 5000, as I said, and hello world is what is showing up, and that is what is the most excellent web application that we have written. Now that is a Flask application. You can make it as complex as you like. Now my goal is to really to teach you how to containerize this application, so you can use the power of Docker to spin up thousands and thousands and thousands of containers if you like. Use AKS to deploy and orchestrate all that. So what I'll do, I'm gonna Control C and get out. So we have already taken some good notes here, what we really need to do. Now to containerize this application, what I need to create a file called a Dockerfile. So let's come back over here, and it's just called Dockerfile. Yeah, very interesting, right? So every single Dockerfile, why is it not showing up? What do? Let me remove that one. Maybe I created a folder here. Here is the file, Docker file. Yeah, there we go. So in a Docker file, I know that I need an environment to run where I need at least Python 3. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna use one of the images that I have used previously. It's a Python image 3.8 dash slim and buster. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, go get the Python 3.8 version slim buster image, and let's create a work directory. And what do you want to call it? Let's call it um, Python Python Flask maybe. Okay, let's do Python dash Flask. So now this directory is not here. So this directory will be created inside the container that we are creating. Now within this container, we want to copy some files, right? So we're gonna work directory, sorry, here, there we go. And we're gonna copy, what we want to copy? We want to copy this hello.py file to that Python Flask directory, and I'm still gonna call it hello.py. Okay. Now, once it's copied, I want to make sure that this Flask module is available within the Python. So what I'm gonna run, I'm gonna say, okay, run this command for me and run pip3 and then um, install Flask. So that is gonna install the Flask, and since we're using the Python 3, I have said, okay, go ahead and use the pip3 syntax. Now the next thing that we need to do, we need to select the environment, and we need an environment for Flask app. That needs to be the name of the file we want to run, hello.py, and this is wrong, not evn, env. Thank you code for helping me out. And I need another env for Flask environment env, and this time it is going to be development, right? So I'm pretty close. So now all I need to do is pass a command to run this application, and somehow I need to write this command. And the way you write the command, you write cmd, and what do you want to run? You want to run Python 3, and you want to pass what? You want to pass dash m, and then what? You want to run Flask, and that's not done yet. You want to run, and finally you want to do dash dash host as 0.0.0.0. So really what I've done, I have taken this command and just broken this and wrapped all of them around strings. Like here you need a comma though. Okay, Python 3 comma, and looks good. So every Docker file, it needs to have a process. So this process hopefully will run this application. As long as this application is running, this particular app, a container, will run. So let me make sure that we have closed the application. If we go there, there's nothing there. So another thing I want to change maybe before we do some stuff, I want to come to the hello and hello world from Docker. So I changed that. So once I run the container, you see that I'm going to have a different hello world page that will say hello world from Docker. Now to build a Docker image, it is really simple. So the command we would need to run would be docker build, and then we're going to name it as a um, security Python Flask app, and let's say it's going to be version 1. Okay, so that is the exact command that we need to run, and we're going to run from inside the directory, and the dot signifies that. So I'm going to copy that, and I come here, do a ls, make sure I'm on the same place where I have the Dockerfile. That's all I need. Paste. So docker build, that's T for tag, security Python Flask app, long name. Then I'm tagging this particular image with the version 1. So this one should create an image for me. So if I hit enter, what it's doing, it is going to go there to that going to go there and download this guy. It is creating all the folders. It's copying this, it's running the pip3, then it says everything is done. I'm gonna do it one more time real quick because I didn't change this, I didn't save this. So just to be sure, I have it says successfully tagged. Okay, so to make sure that I have the image, the command I'm gonna run, docker docker image ls, and looks like I have one image that is tagged as security Python Flask app version 1. Now that's all you need. Now to be able to run this application, all you need to do is run Docker, then run. Let's say I don't want the detach mode. Well, let's run it in detach mode. So dash D dash P, and we know that it is running with the port 5000. So let's map the same port from outside, from my host machine, go down inside the container, look at post 5000. And what do I need to run? I need to run this guy. So I'm going to copy this and paste this. So we can also provide the image ID. I'm going to try with the name first and see if it works. So if I hit enter and it said could not find that image, so I'll change that to the image ID for now. And let's go ahead and use the image ID. Copy and paste. So I'm now going after the image IP, hit enter. This time I didn't get any error. It just gave me a hash. So at this time, if I do a Docker container PS, if there's any running container, it should show up. And there we go. So there is a container that is running, and it's telling me if I go to localhost and port 5000, I might be able to find it. So let's just do that. Let's just go here. Let's go to localhost and then 5000, and there we go. Now this application, it is not running on the host machine directly, it is running inside the Dockerfile. And to prove that it is running, we can run docker container and then I can stop the container, and again I can pick up the ID, right, and paste and hit enter. And now since it stopped, if I go back, hit refresh, you see there is nothing there. Now I can easily start the container. start, and I'm starting the container. Go back and refresh, it is back again. Alright, so in this video what you have learned how easy it is to create a Docker file and Dockerize an application. And so you don't really have to worry about how complex this application is, that Python application. I have used a very simple Python application, but this is the syntax that you need to learn and get better with. And so it's the one layer where I'm going to go after the Python 3.8. You could use something else. I'm creating a folder there. I'm copying the files I need to that folder. I'm installing the Flask. And for Python, I'm setting up some environment and then running the application. That's about it. Okay, if this video is helpful, please leave me a comment. If you feel it's not clear, let me know how I can improve. And ask me if you have any specific questions. I'll love to answer. Thank you very much.